Alright guys, I had a couple emails and wanted to address them before we got started. I know one of the major concerns is if you have questions while we're in the stream, how to ask those. Again, try to email me pictures of them just so that we are prepared and that we don't have to worry about trying to type all that in. And make sure that you have everything that you need. I think tomorrow I'm going to try to do a Zoom lesson, and that way we can try to do stuff in real time. But we'll see. I know you guys are pushed to your limits, so I'm trying to keep us moving at a decent pace, but not too much. So with that being said, again, please email me whatever questions you have. So to start off, the very first thing that I'm looking at is which one of these is better. I know our textbook has a tendency to look at it one way, and then depending upon what else is being asked of us, we do have different editors that require different things. And I don't know if you can go back in some of my notes when we talked last week. There was one problem where I had probably 3 different answers that I had listed, all of which are correct, all of which are acceptable. It's just a matter of what do they prefer, and by they meaning the editor or the ABC choices for your in multiple choice questions. Unfortunately, it doesn't give me an end-all answer, like what's the best, because there isn't really one that is the best. So kind of gauge what you're looking at from the problems that's provided for you. So like I said, just to recap, I'm going to probably go and Zoom tomorrow on Wednesday. If not, I may Zoom Thursday and just give you guys the day tomorrow to do some work. So no live stream to worry about trying to get to, no live stream to worry about watching. So just look at your Google Classroom so that you guys can see which day it is, if it's tomorrow or Thursday. I have it written down, and of course it's someplace else right now. So which one's better? They both are. It just depends on what the editor wants. Now, the other question was, let's work this guy out and make sure we understand where our answer is coming from. So the first thing I'm going to do before I check anything is I am going to rewrite this one. And again, because it was a question, I do want to show that this is the difference of 2 squares. I'm going to assume, because there was no equal sign, that this was just a simplify. And as we're working, please remember there is absolutely no reason why you can't pause those no reassignments. You do not have to do them all in one sitting. At least I don't have to. I know I try to practice the problems and at least see what kind of problems are given to you guys before I assign them, which is why I did already put that other assignment that I did put out there. You didn't have to finish it because one of the problems at the very end, the very last question, we haven't talked about yet. So you can work on it, but just know that you're not going to be able to complete it. Now our LCM for this guy is x plus y and x minus y. So our common denominator that we're going to work with looks like this. So this one I don't have to adjust, but this one I am going to multiply x minus y and x minus y. This one's going to be x plus y and x plus y. And that way, when I distribute, I have to make sure that I do take into account that my numerator does have this minus sign that's going to get adjusted with the x. So I'm just going to write one denominator, x plus y, x minus y, because it's all going to go over the same denominator anyway. And in the top here, we're going to leave this as x squared plus y squared. And then right here, we're going to distribute. I have a plus x times y and a minus y squared. And that's just because I distributed the y to each of those. Now I'm going to distribute my negative x to that and my negative x to y. So now I end up with a minus x squared and a minus y squared. Oh, and I apologize, that's not, I knew I was doing something wrong. That looks all great. Look how wonderful that looks. Sorry, guys. So that's an x times y is a minus xy. Wow, that is ugly. All right, so combining like terms. First off, you have xy, the positive xy. Let's change that color, that's awful, red on red. We have our positive xy and we have our negative xy that are going to cancel. And then we do have, as I zoom in, a negative y squared and a positive y squared that are going to cancel. And then I have a positive x squared and a negative x squared that's going to cancel. So when we're done, this actually is 0 over x plus y, x minus y. So our final answer is 0. So make sure that you recognize this guy right here, we cannot forget, has to be simplified. It has to go with that x in order for it to work. So if while we're doing this, sometimes you might have a question, I know that you can kind of scroll back and forth. If you know already that there is a question that you have and you want to email me a screenshot of it while we're still on, please do so. And that way I can go, you can let me know in the chat if you emailed me a question, and I can just move over to my email, see what that is, and then I can go back and forth for you. So do you know if there's any other quick questions that you have that you saw either on the loaded questions for 8-6 that I did put into Google Classroom? I know that I gave you a couple different things to look at yesterday just for practice. Some of you may not have even gotten there yet, and that is okay. Please, I just wanted to make it as clear as possible what was required and what was not. So when you looked in Google Classroom last night or yesterday afternoon, I kind of went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, just to let you know what you should be looking at to keep yourselves organized for at least the week, to know what to do. I'm trying to every day for myself make a list of things that I need to do, and I know I fall short of that. Laura, I'm looking at my email and I'm not sure. I don't have anything that I got from you, hon. I'm not sure. Oh, maybe it's still trying to send. Oh, there it is. Sorry. Thank you. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at Laura's question. I appreciate that. That makes things a lot easier as we go through. So I'll put it, if it's not in screen, because I'm looking at the question right now, I will make sure I put it in screen. So 2x, oops, that's a 1. Come on, Angie. Plus 3 over x plus 4 equals 21 over 2x plus 6. Okay. And then the number 20 that I loaded, I'm going to assume, Hallie, that's what you're talking about. I'll write that one down while I'm looking at it. All right, so it's the same one. I'm going to assume that that's the same one. Okay. Let me know, girls, if that is the same one. I know that's a crazy looking one, but so here's the thing. These two guys already, there we go. It looked like I was stuck. Sorry that I moved that around so much. All right, so these two are kind of giving me a hint as to what that's going to factor into. So before I even try the AC method or before I try to group, I'm just going to take a look, and it's supposed to be, I know right away, 2x squared, and I didn't write that down. So 2x times x is 2x squared. 2x times 4 is a positive 8x. Minus 1x would give me that 7x in the middle. So right away I know that one is going to factor into exactly what I'm looking at here. So x over 2x minus 1, 3 over x plus 4, and then 21 over 2x minus 1, x plus 4. So I use the question to kind of help me know what it's going to factor into, and then I don't have to worry. That does then tell me already what my common denominator is. So this guy here would need an x plus 4. And this guy here would need a 2x minus 1. So notice, and I know that I'm solving because I got carried away here, but if I was just trying to put this as a common denominator, all of this. So when we talked yesterday about multiplying all of this through, because I don't want to make these common denominators and then cancel everything out, what's really happening here is if I took care of my 2x minus 1 and my x plus 4 here, if I distributed, notice how this guy and this guy would cancel in the first one, leaving me with just the x times x plus 4. And over here, when I distribute, the x plus 4 is going to cancel with this one, leaving me with just the 2x minus 1. And over here, when I distribute, because I didn't need to worry about putting that LCM in, both of them are going to cancel, and I'm left with 21. So it's kind of a way to look at it if yesterday you weren't quite sure why we were doing the distribution with the LCM. If I put it all over the same denominator and then just looked at what was left in the numerator, that's what's just left. So when our denominators would have all matched, what was left in the numerator is all I would have had to worry about in order to solve. So you can kind of look at it that way. So yesterday we just kind of had this guy out here. We didn't have to worry about making everything a common denominator. But if we had, the numerator was all we were going to have to worry about to solve for x. So it's just a different way to look at it to give you kind of a different perspective. So over here when we distribute, we have x squared plus 4x plus 6x minus 6 equals 21. Combining like terms, and then I'm going to bring that guy back over and I end up with minus 27. So, looking at this, let's take a look. So, just making sure I got all of this. Factors of negative 27 that would add up to 10. Where did the minus 6 come from? Oh, that's why it's wrong. Caitlin, you are a lifesaver. I got carried away with my 6s. That would make much more sense. I appreciate that. So now when we're taking a look at this, a positive 12 and a negative 2. Notice how I slowed down? Sometimes I know that that's frustrating when you guys get to a problem and you're not sure what's going on. A lot of times, I've always said it, and I do the same thing. We make a simple error and it makes it feel like we don't know what we're doing to solve, when in actuality, we distributed wrong or we added wrong. So you are right. I got carried away with my 6s. When I factor this, x plus 12, x minus 2 will give me that negative 24, but that 10 in the middle. And then we end up with x would equal negative 12 and x would equal 2. Now I should check this to make sure that it works. And when I plug it back in here, the first good thing that I know is by putting in a negative 12, it's not going to change that to 0 or that to 0. And because it doesn't change individually those first two denominators to 0, it's not going to change that one to 0, because we can see that that's what's multiplied together there. If I plug in 2, 4 minus 1, 2 plus 4, and again, it's not going to change that one. So we do already know that those work. I could plug them in to check to see if they are in fact equal. So we don't have a domain error, so to speak, but what we do know is that they work for the domain to still be greater than 0. And I know that we saw that the answer on the paper was true, but remember, if I was to plug those in and check, this side would have to make sure that it equaled this side with the negative 12. And if I plugged in 2, they both would have to be equal. This entire side after the addition would have to be equal to what that is. So you can see that those two both are answers, but that's the check that we would have to do if we didn't already know that those answers were going to be correct. And thank you, Caitlin. Sorry. Any other emailed questions that you guys would like for me to discuss, or even problems from that book work, if you had a chance to take a look at it? I'm not sure. Not sure if there's any more, and that's okay. If I kept our class at the same time at 9:30, the question that I do have for those of you that consistently have shown, are you good with going with Zoom at 9:30 the same time, once or twice a week now? I think all of us, yourselves included, with me, have done it enough now that I know I would be comfortable with it for class purposes. I think I'm going to have to figure out, I know that I'm able to screen capture, so the only thing that I would make sure, the only thing I'd have to make sure is that I still use the hover cam now. Sabrina, do you have a cell phone, out of curiosity? Because I know that you can get the app on your cell phone, and that may help. I'm not sure. And if you have are all of you on your computers able to do Zoom? I know the teachers were, I just wasn't sure. Because I don't think you need to worry about downloading on your computer. It's just a website. So it should let you. And if not, I need to know so that I can let the tech guys know. Because Sabrina, if there's an issue, we can email the tech guys and good. That's what I thought. If you use Chrome, you can do it through your browser. And you are correct, Laura. Absolutely, because that's the only place I get it, is I just go through the Chrome browser. And I would just send the invitation for the lesson, and then we would be able to go from there. So um, I think it should work. Sabrina, please let me know if for some reason it does not, but it should work through Chrome. All right. The only other thing that I want to do, and it's very brief, and then I'm going to back off for the day and just kind of let you guys figure out what you need to work on, whether it's math, whether it's biology, English, whatever. Keep emailing me your questions, and that way I can have them ready for class. And again, if we Zoom, I can still record. I will still record it and put it on our YouTube channel or send a link for it in Classroom. I'm not sure how to do that the best yet, but I think I can upload it to the YouTube channel. I would always do it at the same time, even though I know that for some of us that's early. However, like I said, let me see what I emailed real quick. It would be probably Tuesdays or Thursdays if we Zoom. I'm trying to kind of gauge what you guys think. So if you have a day that you think is better, just kind of type that day in here in the chat. And we can either do 1 day of Zoom, 2 days of Zoom, only go maybe 1 day live. You let me know. Just so that I could always do Monday, Wednesday, Fridays, and we can kind of worry about Tuesdays and Thursdays as needed. Entirely your choice. So whatever you think is enough, not enough, too little, too much, you let me know. This is all kind of a learning process for all of us, so I want to make sure that we're okay with what we're doing. So I'm going to start, and there's only 2 questions, and it is pretty much the same as our equations, so I'm not going to write the steps out because they are still the same. Our LCM, our common denominator, and this is only 2 parts, so it almost treats it like it's a proportion, but we can see that we're going to multiply by our common denominator all the way through to get rid of that common denominator. And we end up here with this x minus 2, x plus 10, and that's going to be greater than our x plus 1 and this x plus 4. So we can see that our x plus 4s, are going to cancel here, leaving us just with the x plus 10. And over here, the x plus 10s cancel, leaving us just with the x plus 4. So again, almost treats it like a proportion with the way this is set up. And when I distribute, we do have x squared plus 10x minus 2x minus 20 is greater than x squared plus 4x plus 1x plus 4. Yay. All right. Now, the nice part is if we do combine like terms, our x squares are going to cancel. So that's kind of nice. These 2 are going to cancel. So I am going to bring all my x's to one side. And I do have 5x over here. And over here we do have 8x minus 20 is greater than 5x plus 4. Bring the 5x over and we end up with 3x. I'm going to add 20 is greater than 24. So what we end up with right now is this x needs to be greater than 8. So what I know for sure is that x, if it's greater than 8, all will be fine. However, what we still need to take into account are these two denominators. If I end up taking this, I know that x can't be negative 4, and I know that x can't be negative 10. If they are negative 10 and negative 4, it makes this whole thing non-existent. I do, however, know that anything in between it will actually still make this a true statement. So notice how negative 10 is smaller. The other part of my answer would be that as long as x is greater than negative 10 and less than negative 4, it still holds. So notice how the greater than is still going to be accounted for, but it does take into account that domain. And if I test, and again, this is a greater than, if I test those values in between, it works. So you can look to see if you were to test those values, this is also an answer. Typically, you'll notice when the domain shows up, those are the values that kind of give it away if you are to have this. Most of the time, that's the one you're looking for. And I do not believe the no reassignment has any of these in here, but it is something that I know we should take a look at. So then I do have just one more question, and that's this guy. And of course, our common denominator would be 3k. So we are going to multiply everything through by just 3k. And up here, we end up with the k is going to cancel, but we still have our 3 times 3. Over here, what ends up happening, the 3k's are going to and we end up with 4. So now the problem is, what happens when all of that cancels? So we end up with everything canceled in the denominator. And the question is 9 minus 4 still greater than 0? And the answer is yes. This is a true statement. In the past, this was an issue of all real numbers because we ended up with a true statement. However, this, and I will write that down. So again, in the past, this used to just be all real numbers. The problem is we still have to deal with that domain. So because of the domain, we already know that k has to be greater than 0 for this to work. So we end up with not having this as the all real number answer anymore. Our final answer has to be k is greater than 0 to take care of the domain. So that domain is going to be something that, again, comes into play, and we have to make sure that we do take into account for that. Now I can do one more if you would like, or I can stop there because pretty much every one of them is going to be the same way. If it makes you guys laugh at all, the difference between Vermilion and Lorraine right now is we have helicopters flying around Lorraine right now. Yep. And they're not the life flight helicopters, so it's interesting. I'm not sure if they're doing it to make sure everybody's staying in the house. It's interesting. It's kind of annoying. I can hear the buzzing. Any other questions that you guys have? I can do one more, or we can be done for the day. Again, Julie, do we have any preferences on when we Zoom if I keep it at the same time? All right, guys, I know that there's the delay. That's one reason why I kind of like the idea of maybe doing Zoom and then uploading the videos, because it would prevent this 20-second delay that I think we have between what I say and what you say. So I'm going to check my email one more time, and if there are no other questions, all right. If there are no other questions, please check Google Classroom, and I will post the link for you to sign up to get to the Zoom, and then I will make sure that I have it recorded, and no matter what, it will also be posted. So you guys have a great day, and we will talk again soon. I'll hang out here for about 20 more seconds.